Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Nash, and I'm with Energy Sciences. Energy Sciences is very excited about this partnership with Amatis because it gives us one more way to help our clients. So, and of course, given the current issues that building owners, managers, and other stakeholders are dealing with, we know that many of the commercial buildings that we get involved with could really benefit from this technology. So, through our partnership, Energy Sciences and Amatis can deliver turnkey projects for this technology. This morning, we'll first provide an introduction to Energy Sciences and Amatis. Who are we and what do we do? And then we'll move into an overview of touchless controls and what the features and benefits are of the touchless controls. Next, we'll talk about important topics, including energy savings, remarkable incentives that are available through the utilities. And they really do incentivize these programs really well, or these projects really well. And we'll also touch on Michigan Energy Code requirements. Nick and I will then cover the value proposition for touchless lighting controls with Energy Sciences and Amatis. And afterwards, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So let's dive a little deeper into the collaboration between Energy Sciences and Amatis for a minute. Energy Sciences is a leader in energy efficiency consulting with deep expertise in energy management, retro commissioning, HVAC, and lighting systems. Our team has vast experience delivering turnkey technical projects, ranging from simple lighting projects all the way through zero net energy. And so the Amatis lighting control system is available to building owners in partnership with Energy Sciences. Amatis is an engineering organization that's worked in the lighting control space since 2011. They've partnered with some of the largest controls providers in the country to deploy 6 low wireless mesh network technology, and Amatis has enabled partners like Energy Sciences to grow and expand their product lines. Together, Energy Sciences and Amatis offers a vast array of benefits to the energy efficiency market by bringing a turnkey solution for implementing a hands-free system to operate lighting and plug loads. The collaborative team brings numerous things to the table for our customer base, so complementary skill sets and experience on the most current energy management strategies. We also work to promote advanced technology in the state of Michigan and Midwest area. This is a huge focus for us to be able to vet technology and promote technology that makes sense to enable our customers to implement solutions to technical issues. So our focus is on assisting our customers with their efforts to optimize their buildings via touchless control system, which has become extremely relevant today, as we all are painfully aware of. And the team brings a different perspective to complete the puzzle for facility managers, building owners, and other stakeholders that are involved with these challenges with our building stock today. And so our staff also works as an extension of your staff to save energy together. At this time, I'd like to introduce Nicholas Thioret with Amatis, and he's going to be presenting to us today. Nick's a mechanical engineer from Western Michigan University. He's been with Amatis Controls for a year, helping building owners maximize their building energy efficiency with sustainable technology. Before Amatis, Nick worked in the automotive industry, automating manufacturing assembly lines for the automotive assembly industry. So Nick, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana, for the great introduction. Yes, again, my name is Nick. I'm from Amatis Controls, and I've been in Michigan here for the past 12 years. And before we begin, I want to just pause and take a moment to recognize and be grateful, because things have been so hard over the past 5 months. We've all had to work from home. Some of us have had to juggle kids around the house while trying to do work. And, at Amatis Controls and Energy Sciences, we really understand, what you're going through, because we're going through the same thing. And, right now the future is highly uncertain, and there's a million things that may be going through your mind right now. And so what we hope to show you today really is a simple and easy solution that can help remove some of the stress in your life and some of this some of the things you might have to be doing, so that you can focus on the things that matter most. And so, with regards to facilities and buildings specifically right now, we understand that employees are very hesitant to be back in public spaces, and especially closed environments. And obviously that's because of the COVID pandemic. And so there's a lot of anxiety, around this whole idea of bringing employees back to the workplace. And so what we've found is that many building owners and operators are asking themselves right now, how can I get my employees back to the office safely, without promoting the spread of the virus? And what does that mean for my business going forward? Does it mean I need to provide masks, gloves, hand sanitizers to my employees? Or does it mean we need to hire a sanitation crew that sanitizes all shared touch points frequently? Surfaces like the bathroom sink, keyboards, TV remotes, and of course, light switches. And so the two hottest transmission spots in a building are the doorknobs and the light switches. And from the light switch perspective, that means you either have to make sure that the switch is frequently sanitized in a building, or you have to get rid of switches entirely. But also it's about finding the technologies that can support that safer space, like automatic doors, let's say, or lighting controls that don't require light switches. And so now let's talk about some specific things here. So when it comes to lighting, one of the most common things that we've seen in the past is motion control, right? And this absolutely helps remove and avoid physical switches from being used. It gives your occupants, that control that they need for any kind of room. And, if you don't know what motion control is, somebody walks into a room, the lights turn on automatically. And then once that room has been vacant for 15 or so minutes, the lights will turn off automatically. And another method is to place those lights on an on-off schedule based on the hours of operation. So maybe you don't necessarily want a motion control system in place, but you'd rather have things turn on at 6 a.m. and then turn off at 6 p.m. And those things are definitely available. And this is not just applicable to lighting, but also applicable to anything that is plugged into a wall. So that includes fans, plug-in lights, AC units, really anything that needs to be regularly turned on and off. And so by adding these types of controls in your building, you're eliminating that touch aspect of your building. Now, some additional benefits that become apparent when you start using these higher level controls, or such as network lighting controls, is the added capabilities such as controlling the lights from your phone directly, or in some cases, it's knowing the room occupancy before entering that room, so that you can maintain the safe distancing and room occupancy maximums. Or in other cases, it's integrating with your pre-existing building automation system. And so a lot of buildings out there, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, they already have their, HVAC and their blinds and shades, or even their doors hooked into their building automation system, like a BACnet system. And so these network lighting control systems are often able to integrate directly into that system. And what that allows you to do essentially is have your lighting control system control other aspects of your building. So for instance, if you've got motion or occupancy detecting sensors, you can have those occupancy sensors turn on the air conditioning in a room, or open the doors or lower the blinds. And so just a couple other things to keep in mind about these systems. One of the things that is most obvious, is what's the downside, especially if you're trying to run a business, in these times, what's the downside of the network lighting control system? And the most obvious downside is that they're more expensive. But what's the upside, right? And the upside is that you'll save more energy in the long run. DTE and these utility companies will incentivize and give rebates to install these systems. You'll improve your net operating costs, and you'll also meet current building codes. So let's talk about specifics, right? So when we talk about energy building codes, here in Michigan, most new buildings have to abide by the 2015 IECC and ASHRAE 2013 building codes. And we know that these requirements change about every 3 years. So the biggest question we get with regards to this is, how do I ensure that our building meets code today, but also into the future? and how can my space be essentially future-proof in that regards. And the way we do that is by selecting a system that essentially can bring your building into the digital world, and that can easily evolve with the changing requirements. Now, when it comes to utility incentives provided by DTE, for instance, or Consumers Energy, since the early 2000s, many utility companies have offered prescriptive rebates for converting high wattage lamps to low wattage LEDs, and it's often on a dollars per lamp basis. However, many of these utility companies are now offering something called network lighting control rebates, upgrades that essentially involve those network lighting controls. Now, unlike those prescriptive rebates, these network lighting control rebates are often based on the dollars per kilowatt reduced or even dollars per kilowatt hour saved throughout an entire year. And so right now is truly the best time for this kind of upgrade because of the aggressive push from DTE and Consumers Energy in that space. And currently the highest rebates offered are related to network lighting controls. And so in most cases, what we've seen at Amatis is that the rebates, these network lighting control rebates, can cover 40 to 50% of the total project cost. And so what's obviously better than an energy saving upgrade? Well, it's a free energy saving upgrade for your facility. And so in Michigan, we're super fortunate because we've got this amazing program called the Michigan Saves program, which qualifies any kind of energy efficiency upgrade for 0% interest loans for up to 36 months. And so what we see is that on most projects we've worked on, the monthly energy savings often exceeds the monthly loan payment. And so therefore the building owner has a positive cash flow immediately after the system is installed. And so to really drive that home, I'm going to talk about it with an example here. So here's an example of a project in the Consumers Energy area. You can see on the left we've got the without controls, and on the right we've got the project with controls, just as a comparison. And immediately right off the bat we can see that the total project cost is significantly higher with controls. But once we throw in the rebate, what we see is that the rebates with controls are almost 5 times higher than without controls. And so that brings down the total project cost of controls to be less than the project cost without controls. And this is where it gets really interesting. So because we're using controls, we can squeeze out an additional 30 to 40% savings for that facility. And so their annual savings are actually going to go up. And then when you look at the finance payment using Michigan Saves versus the energy savings, the building owner actually sees 5 times more freed up cash flow on a monthly basis than without controls. And so this is really the opportunity here for building owners, is to really capitalize on the rebates, but the Michigan Saves program, to get these installations and these upgrades done for free. And so there have been multiple studies. I'm sure you're all asking, well, how would I make sure that I'm getting 30 to 40%? Has this stuff been proven out in terms of the savings? Is it even possible to get that high of savings? And there have been multiple studies conducted by the DLC, or the Design Lighting Consortium, the Department of Energy, and even an organization called Next Energy here in Michigan. And what they found is that on average, replacing only the lights with LEDs will net you about 47% energy savings. And for some projects that might be a little high, for others that might be a little low, but on average, across different types of spaces, it's about 47%. But now if we add controls to that, what we can expect is an additional energy savings between 30 and 50%. Based on the type of space controlled. And so what we typically see at Amatis is savings of about 75% in total for replacing the LEDs and controls. So, and from a building owner's perspective or a business perspective, essentially that allows you to reduce your operating costs. And it's important to note that not every space is created equal. In most office spaces, grocery stores, and schools, we see savings at about 75%. And for warehouses or large spaces that are not often occupied, we tend to see savings above 80%. Everything I talked about today is dependent on the type of system that you choose to use in your lighting upgrade. And so at Amatis, we've got a DLC listed and code compliant system, which will allow you to maximize those incentives and your energy rebates. And so not only that, but we've also got a team of experts both on the AMATIS and the energy science side that can help you determine what you can expect in terms of rebates and also energy savings, so that you can know exactly what you're getting into before the project is initiated. And not only that, but you can track those savings in real time using our systems dashboard, which allows you to track those savings. Not only track the savings, but for those that prefer the sustainability aspect, there's also a metric for total pounds of CO2 saved, and also kilowatt hours saved with that regard. So, and lastly, it's giving your employees and your tenants that comfortable feeling of being able to control their lights, not from a public touch point, but directly from their phone. And so here I've got an example here about a parking garage. So we haven't really talked about parking garages during this presentation, but it brings out it's a good example to show the ROIs and the ways that we tend to install these into a building. So this was a parking garage out in Colorado. It's got 70 metal halide fixtures, and we replaced them with LEDs with obvious controls. The total project cost was about $24,000, and what that building owner saw was about a $9,000 of annual savings plus rebate, with an ROI of about 55%. And so their payback was actually less than 2 years on this project. And one of the things we did is we asked the building owner, the parking garage owner, how often do you think your space is being utilized? And in their minds, they were thinking between 25 and 33% of the time, there's people walking around. But with that occupancy sensing and that data available, we were able to see that other than the entry ramp, which is used about 25% of the time, the south parking and north parking areas were occupied on average about 10% of the time, right? So telling a building owner, or specifically a parking garage owner, that instead of having your lights on for 24/7, you can have your lights on for only 4 hours of that per day is a huge energy savings, even with LEDs, right? So just a really good example to show sometimes the way our space is used is not so intuitive, and we can learn a lot of things from the data provided. And so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Diana to summarize the presentation.
Thanks, Nick. That was great information. And so as you heard from Nick this morning, there's numerous benefits available to industry stakeholders for implementing AMATIS controls. And some of the benefits are outlined on this slide and grouped into basically 3 categories. So the benefits associated with hand-free controls are, first of all, that the controls can support safety and social distancing strategies. They can support a reopening strategy for commercial buildings, and they allow you to avoid touching physical switches and plug loads. The controls also notify you about room occupancy, and they can be customized to maintain the building remotely. Many of the buildings are operating with minimal staff these days, so all the capabilities have become critical to effective building operations. These controls can also be a part of a strategy to meet progressively more stringent energy codes, which we've seen in the industry with the ASHRAE 90.1 2013 requirements. There were over 200 changes to the Michigan Energy Code. A lot of it was difficult for people to navigate, and a lot of it had to do with lighting and lighting controls. So I don't have to tell all of you how important energy and operating cost savings are. And with AMATIS controls, and when they're added to an LED upgrade or existing LED lighting, the savings increase from 47% to an average of 75%, as Nick mentioned. So, and again, that's from DLC and some other credible sources. It's proven based on results. So the savings each month from the facility upgrade will typically be greater than the monthly payment, which is significantly important these days, as people just don't have money for capital projects for their building. And particularly if you finance a system through a program like Michigan Saves, or if it's a bigger project, something like PACE, really makes the project more viable. So we know based on experience that upgrading your facility with these types of solutions can create a cash positive transaction, as Nick reviewed with you guys with the actual case study. So our collaborative team would be delighted to take a look at any of your buildings and give you an idea of what the savings would look like for your particular project. And that's it. Can you go to the last slide, Nick? So on behalf of the Energy Sciences team, we'd like to, and the Amatis team as well, in our collaboration, we'd like to thank you for participating. We look forward to assisting all of you in making a choice about touchless lighting and plug load controls and helping you evaluate if it's really a good solution for your organization. So if you have further questions or need further information, feel free to contact me at 248-763-2275. Or my email address is diana@esciences.us. Be happy to schedule a site visit or schedule a meeting to discuss what your potential project might be. So thanks again, and we look forward to chatting with all of you.